Dikpo Oyewole. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Dikpo, the queues are back and Nigerians across major cities are groaning due to fuel scarcity. Could you help us make sense of what is happening? Is this really fuel scarcity or is fuel being hoarded?
I believe it's fuel being hoarded, and I believe they're also trying to leverage the NNPC and other stakeholders to see how they can increase the prices. Because as of this morning, I will say it again, that we haven't heard anything from the NNPC, which for me is quite irresponsible. And so far, as of last night, we got a couple of news reports from IPMAN, DAPMAN, other stakeholders within the value chain, saying that the NNPC depots were empty and they were only able to get fuel from the private depots. Now, the people running the private depots are saying, okay, we don't have fuel. And the ones that are agreeing to sell the fuel are saying they want to sell it at a higher price. Some are giving the excuse that because of the exchange rate to clear the products and different excuses that they've been coming up with. And rightly said by a correspondent, Omoni, where he said we've had this situation more than once this year. One of it was due to fuel adulteration. The other was about the debate around hiking the price, which caused the scarcity. And we had said that we would rather have the fuel to be available instead of it to be scarce, because as he also rightly said, right now we're facing a lot of challenges with power. And the alternative that we have to supply power into our homes and places of businesses is to be able to power our generators, which right now it is a challenge. So right now, a lot of things aren't going as they ought to go. And it is quite unsettling.
Okay, just like you rightly said, the NNPC has actually yet to make any official explanation of what is happening. And it goes more like a chain. So we have a few being hoarded or scarcity coming out, and then we see people panicking to buy it in anticipation of hiking fuel price. So what must Nigeria do to avoid this unanticipated hikes in fuel prices?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not sure there's a lot that we can do to avoid the hike in prices, because in the end, we're always at the receiving end. But right now, I believe that it's time for us to start calling our leaders to account, because so far, the whole NNPC business for me has always been a problematic one. And this is why. The same mode of operation that they have right now is what we're seeing to what they used to have before. A couple of months ago, they metamorphosed into a proper organization, and they said we're going to have a board, that we're going to be run like a proper corporation. Today, it looks like the new boss is the same as the old boss, because this is day 3, actually day 4, because today is Wednesday and this whole fuel conversation started on Sunday. Till now, we are yet to hear anything from the NNPC. Every other person within that value chain that has anything to do with getting PMS to the filling stations for people to be able to buy, they have been able to make one statement or the other. Till this time, we have not heard anything from the NNPC. People don't even know what is going on. People don't know if there's a leverage going on for there to be increase in fuel price. People don't know if maybe it's an issue of maybe transporting the products from the depots. We don't know anything. We don't know anything. So people are left in limbo and wondering what is going on. So unfortunately, right now, Nigerians cannot do a lot because we are at the receiving end of it. But I believe it is time for us to call on our leaders, elected officials, wherever they are, wherever they may be, especially the National Assembly, to call on the management of NNPC and have conversations with them with immediate effect, because this is no longer sustainable. We cannot be having this scarcity every other month or every other quarter in the year. It is very disruptive. It's very disruptive. Now there's a lot of hike in the cost of transportation, which is as a result of the hike in the fuel price and the scarcity as well. Up until now, getting things has been quite difficult, and things cannot just go on this way.
All right, Dikpo, we're also trying to make sense of all of this and why we have this fuel scarcity. Now, fuel importers have sometimes been figured in obtrusive behavior like oil theft and bunkering. We saw different reports about oil thefts in the Niger Delta region. Now, is there a likelihood that the government's recent stride in intercepting illegal refineries and outlets is responsible for this particular fuel scarcity?
Well, that's a possibility to consider. But I don't believe it is the case, because then it would imply that the illegal oil that has been siphoned from our Commonwealth, being exported to foreign countries to be refined, is being sold back to us. Now, that's a possibility. So far, we haven't heard that the shortfall coming is an issue of imports. So far, what we've heard is that the NNPC don't have supply and the private depots have supply. So currently, it isn't an issue of supply, either importing it or getting it into the country. It is that they have the supply, but they're saying they're using this opportunity to renegotiate their position. Now, if that is being savvy business people, that's a conversation for another day. But the question is, what is the NNPC doing about this? Because even if we're going with the assumption that it is an issue of because of the disruption to the illegal bunkering that's been going on, the question is, if that has been part and parcel of the volume that we have coming to the country, now that is no longer the case. What is NNPC doing about it? Because in the end, the buck stops with the NNPC. And like we said before, we haven't heard a single word from them, not even a statement, not even a rumor coming from the NNPC. On day 4, they should be fired. They should be fired, because now you're dealing with the livelihood of hundreds of millions of Nigerians. Day 4, nobody knows what's going on. We can't say that this is the problem. We can't say this is when it's going to end. We can't say, okay, maybe if it's an import issue, we have a window, maybe 3 days to 5 days to have the imports come into the country, and then things can get stabilized. You're not saying you want to plug any leaks. You're not saying you want to speak to the Ipman guys, the people in Dapman. Nobody's saying anything. Now, so they should be fired.
Now, Dick Boy, if you look at the trend, usually towards the end of the year, we have these issues of fuel scarcity, and there's usually an increase in business and transportation within this period. I mean, what is the fate of business owners, and how should they adjust to fuel scarcity and potential hikes during these periods?
Well, I would say that for those that can work from home, which, frankly speaking, with the data we have, that isn't a lot of people. That isn't a lot of people. If you can't afford to work from your homes, do that, so you avoid being on the roads, you avoid having to fuel your car, you avoid having to face the traffic, having to pay a lot more for transportation. But we must understand and acknowledge that we have millions of people who their businesses and means of livelihood do not fall under this category. We have to be very practical about it, because we have a lot of people who literally have to make a living by going out every single day so that they can feed their families. Now, what's going to happen to those people? In the end, they have to adjust, and the consumer or the customer ends up getting the backlash of the whole thing, because these are people that need to go to the market to get what they need to sell. And unfortunately, the cost of transportation has to factor into whatever they're selling. So incomes aren't rising, but the cost of goods and services will keep increasing. So we all just have to adjust to see how we can make do with the current situation we have. Wherever we can cut costs in our private enterprises or in our homes, we should see how to cut costs and only go for the necessities. Now, that is where we are right now, unfortunately. The cost of cooking gas is practically 1,000 naira per kilogram. We've been complaining about that and other essentials in the last couple of months. And with this fuel hike and the scarcity, it is just making things a lot more difficult for people. And this is really not sustainable.
All right. Thank you so much, Adik. Well, we do wait to hear what the NNPC has to say concerning this particular fuel scarcity. Thank you so much for shedding so much light.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Thank you.